Hey, welcome back to the Mining Pod. We're back with another news roundup. Taking a little break lately. We're getting lazy on you guys, but we have plenty of Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining news to go through with my co-hosts Charlie Spears and Matt Kimmel. We'll be back to you in a second after a word from our sponsors.
Hey listeners, let's talk about revolutionizing your mining operation with Foreman. This isn't your average management tool. It's an all-in-one solution for reducing costs and significantly boosting your revenue. Foreman brings a cutting-edge dashboard to your fingertips, empowering you with automated energy strategies. This means not only curtailing around real-time prices, but also strategically enhancing your profit margins through demand response. It's about leveraging energy efficiency to its fullest potential. With Foreman, you get a system that scales with your business, inventory management for assets, infrastructure integration, and business intelligence. Foreman elevates the cash flow and production of your entire operation. To see how Foreman can redefine your mining operation standards, visit foreman.mn. With Foreman, you're not just managing a mining operation, you're setting a new standard in the industry.
Accelerated by Compass is the premier accelerator program for Bitcoin mining sites at any stage of development. Our managed services provide expert guidance in site procurement, construction, energy agreements, and mining operations. Compass helps clients meet timelines and expectations for operational excellence, from greenfield to retrofits and everything in between. Don't just mine, excel. Visit compassmining.io now to discover how Accelerated by Compass can power your success.
Are you a retail or institutional investor interested in Bitcoin mining companies? The Miner Mag brings you free data and analysis from all major NASDAQ-listed Bitcoin mining operations to know who stands out. Check out visualized metrics and data-dependent stories at theminermag.com.
Okay, gents, let's go right into our difficulty update. We're trying to land a sponsor for this segment, so if you're listening to this and you like it, let me know. But today it's sponsored by me, Will. We're going to talk about Bitcoin price, go through some other metrics for the Bitcoin network, and kind of wrap up there and go on to three other stories. We're going to talk about AI and Bitcoin mining, that whole shenanigan or LARP, or maybe you think it's real. So we'll get to the bottom of that. Then we'll go to IREN, formerly Iris Energy, and we're going to talk about the short report. Then we'll finish with Tether taking over the Bitcoin network with another investment into Northern Data. And lastly, Ordinals Corner with Charlie. Okay, to the difficulty update, let's pull up our information from our friends at Mempool. Sorry for not allowing you guys to talk so far. Feel free to interrupt me.
No, you're good. Yeah, someone sponsored the difficulty segment. I'm pretty sure we can brand it in a pretty cool way. Difficulty is about to get interesting.
Yeah, we'll make it cheap for you if you.
You're doing great, Will.
Thank you.
Great. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to the difficulty update. So not too much to report besides like this continuing trend of difficulty going down. The next estimate, we're at 2,000 blocks away, so another 2 weeks. And so let's go down 1.21%. The previous was an increase of 3.2%. So we're supposed to go down right now, but this is the beginning of a new cycle. Difficulty obviously changes every 2 weeks. So is this really like a good estimate so far? No, we need a lot more blocks to roll in to understand what's happening. However, I'd like to zoom out a little bit and talk about since the halving, we've gone from about a high of 650 exahash here or there. And then we've gone down to 513 exahash, kind of showing you that like there was a lot of operators who took hash rate offline over the last few months. I've been looking for some of these stories of wipeout events. I really haven't heard that many. I think it's just like a lot of people unplugging and maybe they come back later. That would be better than people liquidating. Next estimate, as I said, down, but we have to wait probably a week before we actually get a better indicator for that. I'm wondering when the trend reverses and we start going back up consistently and plugging in more hash rate. Petahash, we're at about $50 per petahash per second per day. That's still around all-time low. It's not an all-time low, but pretty close to it. Last two things we're going to add to the news round or this difficulty update is an update on mining stocks and then Texas energy grids as well. The Weekend to Make It ETF is up 9% over the last 5 days. It's an ETF that looks at a bunch of different mining stocks as like a basket of them. So that's up. Mining stocks doing pretty good. And then we'll show you guys this new graphic from a website I found recently. I really like ERCOT grid status. It's kind of showing you what's happening with the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, or the ERCOT energy grid. And they have about 67 megawatts of load on the grid right now. if you're watching on CoinDesk TV or YouTube, you can kind of see like the percentage breakdown, different energy sources, places in Texas, and then also like the cost per megawatt hour. I think it's a pretty cool site. We'll be watching this as we get into August when we do typically see a lot of brownout events in Texas. There's a lot of predictions that Texas this summer would see a peak load of 85 megawatts, which today we're quite a bit below that.
85,000, by the way. That'd be 85 gigawatts.
Oh, 85 gigawatts. Sorry.
Every epoch, you have to go up the suffix an extra order of magnitude.
Yes. Well, why are we talking about Texas? For those who listen to Mining Pod a lot, we do talk about Texas quite a bit. For those who don't follow Bitcoin mining too much, Texas is where a lot of hash rate is. So it's pretty important for understanding the market, for understanding Bitcoin blocks, and those sort of things. Okay, we will finish that one. And Charlie, you were up first with this story from CNBC. However, it's been quite the conversation for a while, and that is Bitcoin miners floating into the AI landscape. So take it away.
Yeah, so we haven't really seen a Bitcoin miner go full bore AI. It's always been integrated this way, retrofit a data center, raise some money, do this, do that. CoreWeave proposing buying out Core. But in this scoop from McKinsey, I forget to say her last name, Sigalos. Regular, fantastic. Sigalos, great reporter in the space. She scoops the Crusoe Energy and Lancium joint announcement that they raised a bunch of money to go build 200 of what is planned to be, they state, a 1.2 gigawatt, so 200 megawatts of a 1.2 gigawatt facility in Abilene, Texas, that is entirely devoted to AI. Gotta hand it to the Crusoe and Lancium folks. They are very, very good at announcing things right in the heat of that particular trend. Crusoe in particular did a very good job raising money on the thesis that we're going to capture or reduce flare gas emissions, stranded energy. And right now, as the ESG narrative begins to lose some steam, figuratively and literally, we're seeing a lot more opportunity in the AI raise space. Now, how much of this is going to be built and on what timeline? I don't know. Crusoe's managed to build, I think a year ago, they said they had 100 megawatts of operations capacity. Maybe that was 1.5 years ago. I looked at their actual stated flare mitigation numbers, and it would indicate that not 100 megawatts continuous are online. So I wonder what that looks like if they've grown and scaled. But they've certainly managed to raise some money. And it's no small amount. It's a lot of money to build 200 megawatts of anything. I will say, both these companies have a history of making some very, very well-circulated announcements about their plans. I would love to see more AI compute. I'm not surprised that you have this opportunity, particularly from Lancium, who deals in power markets. Crusoe, this would be a very different type of operations. We talk about this all the time on this podcast. We're like, AI and Bitcoin mining are just different businesses, very different data center models. They relate similarly in the power agreements and then maybe in the power build out leading up to the data center. But we'll see how this goes. I know Crusoe's acquired some transformer facilities and some switch gear and some electronics manufacturing. So we'll see. What do you guys think?
I think, you hit it on the head. They're capturing the craze. This is the hot ticket item, and, they're just boarding the train. It's like slapping blockchain onto the end of your stock in 2017. It's like .com in the late 90s, right? It's AI right now. You're seeing it in stock prices. A lot of the Bitcoin miners that have dipped their toe into HPC have done very well right on the back of that news. If you're, raising a startup, VCs love pouring money into it. It's the thing, right? And so I'm not surprised to see these two companies basically take advantage and hop into that space, especially with their experience with data centers and operating similar kinds of machines.
The one thing I'll say here is both these companies do have a history of lawsuits. And I'm wondering, it's just kind of funny to see them team up a little bit on this front. Like there's a lot of Lancium lawsuits out there for people using their proprietary energy solution for demand response. Which is like, I don't know. There's something there. Definitely lots of articles. If people are interested in learning more about that, you can find those all over the internet. And then for Crusoe, they're in a active lawsuit right now with Upstream Data. Those guys are kind of going back and forth. So I think that was kind of like the first thing I thought of. I thought that was a little funny, just like kind of two people embroiled in these things typically are teaming up together. The other thought on this, however, is Crusoe has been moving more towards the AI front for quite a while. I've listened to a lot of the stuff that they've been on podcasts with, talking about like their model as much as it is about Bitcoin mining. That was more of a bootstrap mechanism for them as they pioneered like a lot of like this larger scale off-grid mining, specifically with flare gas. It does seem like they're moving off of like the flare gas a little bit and moving towards like traditional on-grid. And I think they're trying to find like on-grid sources because like as much as the flare gas was great, and they do actually have pretty large flare gas operations, including like a large amount of Bitcoin mining. I think there's like the AI HPC side needs like more reliable energy than flare gas can provide. So looks like this sort of deal where Lancium can provide like gigawatts of power from air turbines or wind turbines. And then Crusoe can come in with like their containerized solutions, their AI HPC contracts, since they have a pipeline for that, and then their software. Seems like a pretty good match. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more info from this. Matt?
I think it should be noted the scale of this project, which you just touched on there a little bit. It's over a gigawatt.
Yeah.
This is a major.
Yeah. I mean, it fits into like the Texas roadmap, right? So we had someone from ERCOT, like one of the lieutenant governors speaking in Texas Senate or something like that down in Austin a few weeks ago. And they talked about how they're expecting to get to 150 gigawatts of load. And they expect a lot of the load to be Bitcoin mining. I think a lot of this load is going to be AI HPC if they can continue to build this out. It's an attractive alternative.
I think ERCOT said that by 2030 they're expecting it to double percentage-wise in load on the electric grid, from somewhere 4 to 5% to closer to 8 to 10%. And we have massive build out right on the ERCOT grid with major demand from data centers and Bitcoin miners.
Yeah,
and they're planning for it. Right, it's not some surprise. Right, it's out in the open. It's very well known to the grid operators.
In the competitive world of Bitcoin mining, one name stands out: CleanSpark, America's Bitcoin miner. At CleanSpark, efficiency isn't just a goal, it's our standard. Our sophisticated facilities are built and led by expert teams who care about Bitcoin and the communities we work in. Scale, we've mastered it. Our large-scale operations have set us apart in the industry as examples of community-oriented building. Our track record speaks for itself. We navigate the complexities of the new economy with precision and with skill, continuously achieving operational milestones. Curious about how we do it? We invite you to discover the story behind CleanSpark's success at cleanspark.com.
Okay, let's go over to our next topic, which is going to be IREN, Iris Energy. Bitcoin miner Iris Energy's stock plummets after short seller calls company a Prius at the Grand Prix. This is a good one from the mining mafia this last week. In essence, a short selling firm, Culpeper, issued a long form research paper saying that Iris Energy was overbid, that its price was too high by as much as 52 to 79%. They detailed a bunch of things about Iris Energy, but their main point was that Iris Energy, under the ticker IREN, has been pivoting into the AI HPC story and has now been building up into it. And so some of their points were that they announced their AI HPC strategy after ChatGPT went live. They've also stated that like a lot of their in-house work for their data centers has not been appropriate. That's been more suited for Bitcoin mining, and then they're not spending the appropriate cost per megawatt as other traditional hyperscalers for AI. So this was met. Iris Energy's stock did decrease a little bit on the news of this, which plunged 20% midday trading. It was Thursday of last week. Rebounded since then. A lot of people have dismissed this. I wanted to bring it up because I think it's interesting to see like these short reports issued against these Bitcoin miners. We saw one against Marathon that we talked about on the show just a little bit ago. I think these will continue to happen as these Bitcoin miners, they obviously sit in the world of high tech, and they're, how should we say it, like very become to anything that's happening on Twitter on a given day. Sentiment matters a lot for these stocks. And so for these short sellers, if they can persuade the narrative for a little bit, they stand to make quite a bit of money on a short. So I thought this was a great story to bring up. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's really interesting because this era in mining, we now have this social graph which impacts the public markets. And now you have a group like the mining mafia on Twitter, which I would say is kind of the beating heart of the equities degens, if you will, and the analysts who are flexing their muscles into learning how to project and model unit economics for these Bitcoin miners. Now it matters. So this is a group you can tap into. You can try to form narrative and drive short selling, longing, whatever it is. This extends even into more sophisticated markets. But I will say, like, I feel that still very few people actually know how to value a lot of these miners. I see subjectively a bit of a growing disconnect between, I would say, practiced operators who are operating in the mining space and the armchair analysts. And I actually don't think either camp is entirely correct in their view. I actually think the operators could probably learn a little bit from the analysts who are more tapped into the financialization of these companies. But let me tell you, the armchair analysts who've never set foot on a mine are consistently show their inexperience and unfamiliarity with how this business works.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. I think these are going to continue to happen, partially because these are relatively low market cap stocks, right? So you can have large, and they're highly volatile, as well as news makes a major impact in this space. We saw it just a week or two ago, right? With some acquisitions and some expectations and some leaks on Twitter, right? Causing major swings in share prices. And if you are in the business of taking advantage of that and short selling, right? And making directional bets and kind of have incentives to push out different information, it seems like this is a place for you to play. And we've seen that historically. And why wouldn't we see it continue?
I agree. I think it's an interesting play. Maybe next time they can tip off the mining pod before they do this short report so we could get on the action, fund ourselves for a year. Let's go to the last topic for Bitcoin, and then we're going to go to the Ordinals corner with Charlie at the end. That's Tether taking over the Bitcoin network. They have another investment, this time, well, actually again, in Northern Data.
Tether's writing checks. They've been writing checks for a while. They are writing 9-figure checks to the Northern Datas of the world. I believe they announced they had some deals with Swan. Who else? I just lose track of who's getting checks from Tether right now.
Yeah, Tether is a money printer, right? I think there's about 100 billion that is in just the stable coin, right? High interest rate environment has benefited some companies, and Tether is one of them. So they've got cash to spend. They, in this case, are investing and kind of through Northern Data, getting some exposure to the AI front. And we saw just a week or two ago when there were rumblings of Northern Data potentially looking to IPO in the States, that their valuation was relative to Bitcoin miners very high. I believe it was around 15 billion. And for context, Marathon, one of the largest miners, trades around 5-6 billion, right? We're talking multiples higher. And so that's the kind of valuations that HPC AI companies are getting. See NVIDIA, right? And so I think Tether is kind of getting some exposure. They've already had a relationship with Northern Data and financed some of their debt deals and opened a credit facility with them. And so this looks like a continuing of that relationship. Northern Data is also not new to this industry. They were one of the largest, I believe, Ethereum GPU miners. And so them hosting GPUs once again, but for the purpose of AI, it's not unreasonable. And so that's kind of my take there. What do you guys think?
Tether had billions in net profit last year. I forget, but I think it was a single digit. But even just a single digit of net profit in billions is crazy. And if you are in this crypto native industry and you have, I think they have under 100 employees or something, and you are a money printer, where do you put those billions? If you look at the stablecoin landscape, you have new entrants, the Athenas of the world, you have the Mountains of the world, like these new stablecoins entering the market. Tether is a legacy stablecoin. It allows you can pursue different strategies to pull your cash somewhere. And there's not a lot of places you can write $100 million check that's crypto native. So mining is about the only type of business that you can, throw $1 billion plus out and deploy that. And mining is like real infrastructure, diverse exposure across the crypto asset ecosystem, and miners are desperate for money. So it's a very natural, I think, obvious play. I think this will just continue as long as Tether prints money.
I mean, it's like the exchange here, just dollars for infrastructure. And why not keep doing that? And if they think Northern Data is a good way of doing that, then by all means, Northern Data is already set up. They continue to make equity purchases or debt offerings with Northern Data. And that seems to be strategic in the sense that, like, if they don't like the direction of Northern Data, well, they basically can own it at a certain point and kind of twist into what they want it to be. In the meantime, they can let Northern Data do its thing, which is stand up new sites. And Northern Data does look like it's going to possibly IPO in the US market. We learned that last time, right? So, there's much more ahead for them. And for Tether, that's a great investment because you might not ever be able to IPO in North America, but you certainly can own a lot of investments at IPO. And that might as well be the next best thing. So there's that.
Need ASIC help? Check out Vitamine, one of Bitmain's certified repair shops located in Washington State with satellite offices in Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas. PSUs, hashboards, immersion setups, in and out of warranty repair, Vitamine has you covered. Want to train your technicians? Bring Vitamine to your site for hands-on training in the art of ASIC repair, complete with Bitmain AMTC certification. Contact Vitamine today at dan@vmasic.com. Again, that's dan@vmasic.com. When you think of ASIC repair, think Vitamine.
Charlie, let's go to our last story, which is the Ordinals corner.
Yeah, so Ordinals, you guessed it, Ordinals are up. I'm just going to share my screen here really quick. It's been a terrible, terrible month. Or not month, terrible spring for your orders and inscriptions. They've been down like 80 to 90% in some cases, even among the, quote, blue chips. But if we look at the past 30 days, here's Magic Eden. We look at the past 30 days, the strict majority, that is, of the collections by market cap are up on the month. Now, they're still considerably down. But, if we just look at the market, it feels like it's bottomed. I wrote a very interesting piece, I think, on the landscape of leverage in the Ordinals and Runes ecosystem. Yes, if you're listening to this, you can take your JPEG and loan against it. And many people have. And we got to look at exactly how many people had defaulted. Oh, yeah. So over $100 million in loans against these assets, of which 20 million plus have defaulted. That's the damage so far. So I'm just saying, if if all these things go up again, those numbers are going to look small, because I don't think you can take the degen out of a bull market, but you can't take the you can't mitigate their risk profile. So like they're going to max long every time, everything.
I did love how certain groups of ordinals back holders were the ones doing it. So like the analysis went as deep to say like people in the node monks or the Bitcoin puppets community were the ones like balls long, so to speak, into this. And some of the other groups like OMB, I forget the other ones you mentioned, were like not really into it because they just like want to protect their sovereign JPEG.
Yeah, it's interesting. You could actually tell. So like take OMB as a case study, Ordinal MaxiBiz. There's different kind of tiers to the collection by color of eyes they have. And basically the more premium those get, the less degenerate behavior those people become. Maybe they're a little more sophisticated. Maybe they are in fact collectors, as they say. I love OMBs. I own some OMBs. But like the winner overall were the OGs, inscribed Pepes, the first like real Pepe collection on chain. They're a huge fan. They probably listen to this podcast because they may be degens, but they're sophisticated and they pay attention to the Bitcoin ecosystem.
It's a race for the most degenerate collection. That's what I'm taking away from this. And you so casually mentioned how 20% of the debt taken out on these JPEGs has been liquidated.
Yeah, that's just default. It's like, you know, that does not count for the person who just barely staved off liquidation. Because like there could be somebody who didn't get liquidated on paper, but maybe they did effectively lose it all because they paid it back and then had to go run with their tail behind their legs back to the drawing board. So yeah, many such cases.
We should do a segment within Ordinals Corner called Degens Playing with Debt. And we just go through all of the leverage and deleveraging that happens in the radicalness among.
That was just the mining pod last year, man.
It really was.
Coming back. The memes are back.
The memes are back. Well, if you want more of that content, go to Bitcoin Season 2. You can find that podcast on the blockspace.media website, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, etc. It's Charlie's show. Mondays is sort of like data and going through these things. And then normally later in the week is an interview with someone building the ecosystem. Okay, that will be all for this week. We will catch you next week on Tuesday with the interview with Bespoke. It's a family office. That podcast is more talking about like how you as a Bitcoin miner can protect your wealth and assets. Really interesting show. We filmed here in Denver. And then after that, we will be in Nashville. You can catch the Blockspace Media team, Charlie and myself, and exciting new member unlock. Find out about that next week as well in Nashville. We'll be doing podcasts with CleanSpark, Foreman, Ocean, and so many more on the ground in Nashville. And you'll hear those episodes dropping in August. Okay, from Blockspace team and Matt, sorry, like sort of there on the team, but still coin chairs.
You never cease to do an episode without trying to insult me.
Well, you can always come back. Okay, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.